Hello, everybody. My name is Joan Turner. I am the treasurer and videographer at the GHAA, which is a Greater Haverhill Arts Association. We're a nonprofit art association that serves the whole Greater Haverhill area. And we have a lot of cool stuff going on. We have the arts festival that's going to happen and so on and so forth. You can
Mhm.
see all of our events that are happening by getting on the website, which is www.haverhillartsassociation.org, or you can just do ghaa.art, okay, and that will bring you there too. And so, as part of trying to get all to know all of the awesome members of our association, we have decided that we want to do a meet the artists, okay? And this
Mhm.
month, you're going to meet the fantastic Mr. Jim McCarthy.
Hey, Joni, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
All
Good.
right.
I'm, t- I'm telling you, the sun was shining yesterday. Anyone who knows me know that I play the ukulele, or I try
Yeah,
to, but haven't thrown me out yet. So I'm
you
gonna
do
have
it
to say
very
it.
well.
Well, thank you. See, that's why I like him. Yeah.
See?
And so yesterday we played outside, and I mean the sun was shining. It was awesome. And then today's a nice day too. So we
Yeah.
have to enjoy that. Okay. So of course we got to ask the obvious questions. When did you become interested in art? Is this like
Oh,
my mother says the first time you picked up a crayon, you started drawing all over everything. So
yeah.
when did you realize that this was something that you needed to do?
That was about right. I just started picking up crayons, and they said, "Here, give him something to do,"
So
And
they
yeah,
created you.
it's yeah. I just started drawing as a little kid. Uh, uh, Never had any classes in drawing as a kid
Not
in
ever,
school.
not ever. How about as an
Not as a
adult?
kid. No,
No.
no.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, I just like drawing. It was mostly like cartoon stuff or stuff I'd come up with in my head,
Cool.
and
Cool.
yeah, and then uh, I never got serious with drawing or anything until I well be into adulthood.
I think that
Mhm.
happens to people, and we're
Yeah,
kind of programmed from a young age, oh, don't go into art. It doesn't, you won't be able to support yourself, do this, do that.
right.
So it kind of, there's a little bit, I hate to say it, mom and dad, but there's a little bit of sometimes, some negative programming there. But
Well, there was a lot of that. you know, get a do
uh-huh.
something you can get a job with.
Yeah, right. Do something
Yeah,
that will keep a roof over your head and pay your bills.
yeah, yeah,
And I definitely was not that. You could take it as a second or whatever, but for your first choice in school, you had to do something businesslike or something that would, yeah, pay the bills.
yeah,
So, so when you were very young, okay, did you have a
yeah.
mentor? Usually there's someone who I can remember the very first person who I did a picture of. I was a young teen. I did a picture of Cinderella and sold it at a yard sale, and someone bought it for $1. So I'm like,
No
I'm
kidding.
selling my artwork, and I was like so excited. So then I got a teacher and blah blah blah. So
Yeah.
who did you have a mentor? How did you just
Oh,
evolved on your own?
I didn't start doing anything with that until I was well into my 40s. And
No way.
yeah,
Yeah, I
as far as like being in a position where I had a mentor or anything like that, I had nothing like that.
really.
Yeah, my mother liked to draw, and and she liked that I liked to draw, but it was nothing like she was like really rooting for me to be an artist or anything like that. So I
Yeah,
was basically just working off of my own interest as in drawing, and
yeah, cool.
uh, but as far as a mentor, it was more I learned from example. Uh,
All right, that was going to be
as
my
I got
next
older, in
question. How
fact,
did what did you learn from? Did you read books? How did you learn how to do what you do?
well, as a kid, I liked looking at the cartoons in the paper and stuff. I liked watching cartoons as a kid. Um, But I think the type of cartooning I liked the most as a kid was political cartooning. It was more some of them like Zepp in the Globe when I was growing up. It was very intricate drawing, and very caricature like, but very accurate, you know. And so that always got me interested in drawing. I couldn't quite do that, but it got me interested in what line art was, and he used a lot of cross hatching and a lot of that stuff, and a lot of exaggeration.
So what do
And
you use to draw with? Pencil, crayons, paint?
I started as a little kid with crayons, but it really didn't latch on with me. I liked pencil. I liked working with pencils.
Me
I
too.
was,
Started
I
pencil.
always was and still am scared of ink because what if I make a mistake?
Yeah, yeah.
a,
It's
a
there.
pencil I can erase.
Believe it or not, there are ways,
Mm,
unless you spill the whole bottle of ink, like on your
yeah.
picture, there are little ways to fix it,
Mm,
believe it or not. But you're right, ink is intimidating, and people
mm,
find watercolors intimidating. But
yeah.
you have a very specialized thing that you like to do with shape and color and all this
Yeah.
good stuff. So where do your ideas and inspirations come from? Now, from the comics when you were young, but
Mhm.
like I said, your artwork has evolved into something
Oh,
totally
it's
different.
evolved a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, even in my early digital artwork, it was very cartoonish. I mean, because that's what I was used to drawing before. Before I opened up I opened myself up to new experiences in
So how
art.
did you open yourself up? So people who like are stuck, like say
Yep.
an artist is stuck, how do you open yourself up? Do you
Okay.
expose yourself to different types? How do you do that?
It
What's
was
your
showing
advice?
somebody else how to draw and
Oh,
stuff.
okay, cool.
When my niece and nephew got to the age where they started drawing and stuff, found an interest in drawing and stuff. I really enjoyed showing them how I used to draw and stuff like that, and as they started drawing their shapes and stuff, it got me more and more interested in my own art and saying, okay, well, I don't really want to do the cartoonish type stuff anymore. I'd like to see what else is out there. So through our travel and stuff, we go to different museums and stuff, and I just love seeing like the abstract work. At first, I really didn't love abstract work because I was trying to make sense of it, and I was getting more into like the realism type art or the more impressionist type art where it was a scene of something. Um, but I admired that. But as I got more uh, more exposed to different types of art and found that okay, maybe I can start drawing this a little bit and stuff.
Okay.
It opened me up a bit more.
So
And
good. So actually,
and
started through teaching, basically,
yeah,
or showing your niece and nephew.
right. Well, it wasn't a thing where I was always teaching them how to draw and stuff. It was just, you know, if we were having
You
time alone,
get-togethers.
if I was babysitting or something, I'd
Yeah,
show
yeah.
them, and I just followed what they like to do, you know, and
I
that
can
kind of got me to
relate.
think a little bit more open, because
I
they're
can.
following whatever comes in their mind, which is, well, why
Yeah.
can't I do that? Well, you're 40 something years old. You're not you're not the little
Well,
kid anymore,
you're right.
So
Kids are amazing. They don't have all the hang-ups we do.
right, right,
Absolutely. It's like if they
yeah,
decide, I had one little girl, she's like 3 years old, and her mother brought her in during this COVID pandemic, and she's like, need to do something to keep her busy. She wants to paint. So I'm like, oh,
mm,
okay. So she decided she wanted to do a landscape that was all pink. She has
yeah,
pink moon, pink clouds, pink waves, so I absolutely loved it. You know what I mean? They're
yeah,
so uninhibited that you really can learn a lot when you're showing or teaching someone else. I think I
hmm,
became a better artist when I started teaching it. So
yeah.
I totally, totally understand that. So
Well,
so what? what's like the best part for you? What's the most fun in creating your art, and what's the worst part? Like for some people, it's all the setup and preparation,
Yeah.
and they just want to dive in there and start doing stuff.
Well, with digital art, there's not as much setup as there is with regular paints. It's probably about as much setup as you would as if you were drawing with pencil or with pen. You know, you got a pad of paper and you got a pencil. You know, and with this, you got a computer. You know, I have to set up the sizing of my of it and the
What do you call the kind of art that you do?
it's all over the place, Joe. It's like I haven't found my my niche. I just enjoy doing it all. Sometimes it's more like sculpting to me. I don't know. I usually don't know what the finished product is going to be until I'm well into it.
Cool.
Because even if I'm starting with the shape, like I'll start with a circle or a triangle and stuff. It's how I manipulate that circle or the triangle.
So do
Uh,
you just let it grow into
I
whatever
just
it
let it grow.
evolves? It evolves into a piece of artwork. So do you
Yeah,
use the
yeah.
computer all the time, or are you physically putting shapes together on a board? How does
No,
how does this
I
happen?
use the when I'm working with shapes, I usually use my computer all the time.
Cool.
But if I am doing something like trying to draw a landscape or something like that, I'll usually start on my iPad
Oh,
and I'll do all the brushwork and everything on my iPad. And then when I'm done with the brushwork and the basic coloring and the tones and the setup of the scene itself, I'll bring it over into my computer and use an art software on my computer to do the fine tuning of the colors and the blending modes and all that stuff that give it more depth, you know. So there's definitely a process to it,
yeah.
um, but it's and I do use a lot of different um, hard pieces of hardware. Like I got my laptop and I got my iPad, and if I'm and I can draw straight on the iPad, and I
That's
can draw
cool.
using my laptop, also using another type of drawing tablet.
Cool.
Um,
So is there a particular piece of software that you use? Like if someone
I do.
looks at your work and says, "Oh my God, that's amazing. I want
Yeah.
to do some of that too." Is there any recommendations you can make?
It was well, I started off using Photoshop, and I used that for years. And then they started going over to a subscription
Okay.
type of
Yeah.
service.
Great.
And I'll tell you, I paid a lot of money for the original software, and they just decided, hey, that's not we're not going to allow that to work anymore. You know,
That is expensive. You're right. You're right.
right? So I went over to there's a company called Affinity. I think it's Affinity Serif,
Oh,
and they make
I'm writing.
software that's um, like a Photoshop, but it's called Affinity Photo.
Okay. Have you ever heard
And
of
it,
Corel?
yep,
Corel? And what
I
is?
used I used Corel Painter for a few years,
Uh-huh.
but then that started crashing on me because
Oh,
if I needed to upgrade it, I needed to pay more
okay.
and all
All right.
that. So
I have another question. I hope it's not a Dumbola question
no,
because
no, no.
because um when I'm only familiar with Corel a little bit, not really
Mhm.
Affinity or Photoshop, but
Yep,
in Corel you can put layers. Like you can work on
exactly.
one layer and then another layer, and then you could put them together. Or
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that?
That's the secret sauce right there.
Oh
Is
yeah,
working with the layers.
yeah. I'm like,
That's the
okay, what
secret
is this
sauce
all
right there.
about here?
Yeah,
All right. So
yeah.
does Affinity Photo let you do that? So is that what you
Affinity
do?
Photo.
You work with the different layers and then you kind of merge them together?
Yeah,
Oh,
with my
cool.
experience to the amount that I used Photoshop. I can do the same thing on Affinity Photo.
Cool.
Um, you know, I can work with the colors. I can work with the layers. I can blend the layers differently, stack one on top of another. Um, there's all sorts, and it costs like, usually costs like $50. But when I got it, they had specials going on. It ended up costing me like $25.
Ah, you lucked
And
out.
I've gone through so many versions of these that are free updates.
Oh,
And
ooh,
with
okay.
Photoshop, you have to pay every month. Those are like $20 a month just for Photoshop.
Oh, wow.
You
Okay.
know,
I
Photoshop and
totally didn't
Lightroom, I
know that.
think it is, but Affinity Photo does the same thing. You know,
It's much more reasonable. Well, that's
it
good
is.
to know for others who are kind of interested. I have to
Yeah.
say, I kind of use mine. I'm not, I have a hard time with the layers and stuff.
Hmm.
So I mostly use mine to enhance prints and,
Yeah.
adjust the lighting and all that good stuff.
Okay. So you're using adjustment layers. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So, but mine is not even anywhere near close to yours, not even like
Mhm.
my understanding is like, in comparison.
It,
So,
it's a lot. It's trial and error. It's, I watch videos on YouTube
yeah,
about it,
oh,
everything. YouTube
yeah.
is great. YouTube.
YouTube is great. I was laughing because I totally agree with you. You can find
Yeah.
a pink left nostril inhaler on the web if you need to. You can find
Yeah.
anything on there. I love it.
Yeah. The tutorials are great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. So, do you ever have a slump? Do you ever have an artist block or
Oh yeah.
look at your face, you're
Definitely.
like, ah, yeah, I got one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The
And
um, yeah, I have it quite a bit, and sometimes I can deal with it by just doodling,
yeah,
or sometimes I'll do it just by throwing the shape down in a program and just
uh-huh.
nudge it here and there, you know,
Yeah. And then
and
something happens.
something happens.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you go, oh
yeah,
yeah, okay, now I can see where this is going. And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Or it may not even end up that way, in that version. It may be something totally different,
uh-huh.
by the time I'm done,
Right, right.
but at least it breaks me out of that,
Out of that
uh,
block.
block. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I had a picture one time that I worked on it for like a year because, and not steadily. I mean, I would leave it for a while, then kind of go back to it because no matter what I did to it, it never really looked finished to me. And
Mm.
then one day I just was looking at it because I had it out on the wall and I'd keep looking at it every time I walked past and stuff. And one day I just had a breakthrough, it's like, this is what it
Yeah.
needs. Did it ever happen to you, or I'm
That happened. That certainly did. That happened to me. There's this one piece, then it'll be one of the things that I show a little bit later,
cool?
that I had worked on this thing for months. Again, I'm moving stuff around. It started off as something simple. It was a very simple shape. And then it started turning into this complex thing as I was adding layers, taking layers away and adding new layers and stuff, and moving shapes around. And then it ended up coming out to being a very, I think, a very nice, like a portrait type of painting. Just out of my mind. It doesn't look like anybody I know, or it just stuff that just started molding itself into this. Uh, and for about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, I'm looking at it. It's missing something. This is missing. I love this thing, but it's missing something. So we go away, and we ended up going. We happened to find ourselves in Paris, France.
That's a good
But
place to find
it was a good
yourself.
place.
I ended found myself
Yeah.
there for a while too. That's cool.
And I'm looking, and my wife Moira is telling me how much a lot of my stuff looks like stuff that we're looking at in look like in the
Really?
museums. So I'm looking at the stuff, and I see an old portrait that's um, it's more realistic looking than mine, but it has a lot of the same tones. It has a lot of the same colors. It has a lot of the same feel and depth as the one that I was working on. And the paint was old and cracked. And I said, "That's it.
That's it.
My
Texture.
thing was too smooth.
That's amazing.
The skin was too smooth."
Uh-huh.
And here I am. I'm working on this piece, and I'm seeing this. Well, this is an older couple and all that stuff, and it was just too smooth. I came home, and I worked with it. I learned how to do learned how to do another effect on it. It kind of crackled it a bit and all that stuff. That's it.
That
And
was
I was
it.
done.
The
That
finishing
was it.
touch. I love it.
I'm done and I love it. This is done.
Yeah.
There's very few of them where I can say I'm done. You know, there's some I'll come about to it being done, but
Uh-huh.
this one here, I says that was it. That
You
was the
knew
ticket.
that was the finishing touch that did
Yep.
it. So do you
Yep.
have a favorite subject matter? It doesn't sound like it. Sounds like you deal in shapes and
I do.
colors and putting them together and now
Yeah.
texture with all your crackling. So
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
a favorite? Have a favorite subject matter? Or now this has got
I
to be your favorite medium also, right?
yeah.
Is the
Yeah.
computer certainly. All right. So
Right.
favorite subject matter? No, yeah. No,
I've
yeah.
been I've been liking doing the landscapes. I'm not, but it's not landscapes like I'm doing plein air and I'm painting the scenery that I'm actually seeing.
They're McCarthy landscapes.
Yeah, they're McCarthy landscapes. I take a shot of it. I take
I
a
love
shot
it.
of it and I'll say, okay, I like that there. I like that tree.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna take a shot of that tree. Bring it home, put it in the camera. Then maybe next week we're off someplace else like Plum Island or something like that. Okay, I like that sand dune. Boom. Take a picture, and that's going to show up in a landscape that I think of.
Okay,
you
so
know?
your
Yeah.
actual photographs get used in your art?
Well, no, as an example, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's not like I traced the
Oh, that I was
photograph
going to
in it.
say, I
No, no,
don't
no, no,
remember
no, no,
seeing
no, no,
anything like that.
no, no, no,
Oh,
no, no, no,
okay.
no, no, no. No,
Gotcha.
they're for ideas only. Yeah, yeah.
Ideas
But still,
only.
all my own brush work and
Uh,
line work and
nice.
shading and stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. So we would love to see some of your artwork, but before
Okay.
you do, give some advice. What, in your opinion, what makes an art piece successful? Now, when there's no right or wrong answer here, there's just,
Yeah,
Jim's opinion. So, what do you, when you look at a piece of artwork, whether it's your own or someone else, what makes that piece successful? You know, I think about that all of the time, and the
yeah,
fact that, people are judging artwork. I've been asked to judge artwork, and it's like, okay, so what makes a piece successful? Obviously, the technical stuff, I guess, it
yeah.
should look 3D, it should do this. But in your opinion, in Jim's opinion, what makes an art piece successful or not successful?
Hmm. Would I want to show this? In my,
Okay.
um, it's it's
Yeah,
not that I do care about what other people think, because if they don't like it, they're not going to buy it, or they're not going to
right,
want to just look at it and get something out of it.
right.
What makes to be honest, I'm thinking of an example of when we were doing the art festival on the Bradford
Like,
Common there.
yeah,
My second year there, I wasn't as nervous about talking with people, and I was able to really talk with other artists. I talked with kids that are in art school and stuff,
uh-huh,
and not only that, but talking with people that just look at the piece of art that I have out in front, which is always my stick people dancing, because everybody likes that. It catches
yeah,
their
they
eye
like
and brings them
theirs.
into
Yeah,
the
that's right.
brings them into the tent, into the canopy, and people just love it. They just love that piece, and then they come in and they look at other stuff, and they find other stuff that they like. I think if somebody can really like something that I do and tell me what it brings, why do they enjoy it?
The
If
feel.
they can tell me why they enjoy
Yeah,
it, and
yeah,
and it and it's kind of what matches up to what I get out of it, then I find that successful.
that's awesome. That's great.
You know?
I feel the same way. It's like if a piece makes you feel something,
Yeah,
good, bad, or otherwise, then it's successful. If you just look at it and just kind of go, oh, yeah, that's interesting, then I'm like scratching my head. But if
yeah,
it actually creates a feeling or a reaction in someone,
hmm,
then to me, that's successful. You're kind of saying the same thing. They look at
yeah,
it And if they, maybe it reminds them of when they go out dancing. That's what that picture reminded me of when I saw it. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
before COVID, we used to go out and boogie oogie a little bit,
Yeah,
partay,
yeah,
and have a
yeah.
good time. So absolutely. Okay.
Not everything I do brings out an emotion in people and stuff. A lot of, a lot of my shape stuff. People will look at, oh, that's interesting. I never would thought of doing that, that
And
type of
that's
stuff.
good. That's a
But,
good thing because it
you
stretches
know,
them. It stretches them.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Maybe they'll look at it a second time and like it the next time they see it,
Yeah.
I get a lot of but,
Well,
but,
that's
it's stuff
good.
that I'm doing,
Uh-huh.
it's what I'm enjoying,
Uh-huh. And
and,
and you know what? You can see the joy in your artwork. You can tell
oh,
that you
thanks.
enjoy doing it. So
Yeah,
that's a really cool thing because as an artist, a fellow artist, when you're doing artwork, you're definitely putting yourself out there on the
yeah.
canvas or the whatever you're putting that on, right?
And
So
that's the hurdle right there
that's the
is
hurdle.
is
Yeah.
getting it out there. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. If it
Yeah.
wasn't for GHA, I'll tell you, it would
GHA
never have
is
happened.
awesome. Yes. Awesome,
you know,
awesome. And
which brings me to something that you asked me before, who were mentors and stuff like that. And I totally paused on on this.
that's all
As
right.
far as like
Sometimes you need a
mentors, this
second
this is
thought.
this is real important for me, to say on how I got started in in my artwork and in showing my art. If we can go back to that, I know there was,
Of course we can, my dear.
um, it's what different people saw in my artwork and stuff, and helped me along the way. When got my first computer back in 1998, I started using the Paint program, on the Microsoft Paint program.
Hey, you're dating us, Jim. You're dating us
I
way back then.
know, I know.
Yeah.
But I had told them but it planted the seed of my love for technology and stuff, because my background is technical work, you know, and but I also like art. But this brought them both together.
You merged them together.
It
That's
merged them
cool.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Cool.
And so yeah, I'm telling Mike that my late brother-in-law, Moira's brother, he was an art director for Computer World. Um, it's like a trade. It was a trade periodical for the computer industry. And I was telling him how much I love doing it and stuff. And yeah, I'm working with Microsoft Paint and all that. And the next time we go over to his house, he says, we just got new computers at work, and I got this old Mac that you might enjoy, and it had all the Adobe software on it, full
Wow.
Adobe suite on it
Nice.
already.
Nice.
It was an older computer, and it kind of, you know, wasn't the top performer or anything, but it opened me up to so much. It really fed me, it fed what I wanted to do. You know,
Yeah,
it really
totally
gave me that hit
encouraged
of the
you.
technical part. It gave me the artistry part. Oh, look at what I can do with this. And it's much more than I could do with the paint program. And that's what really got me started in knowing I really want to pursue this.
So he
You
kind of
know,
saw something in you and kind of encouraged you.
yeah, yeah,
That's cool. That's cool.
yeah,
And you found a
and,
way to merge two interests together into
yeah,
something that you totally enjoy, which I think is
right,
awesome. A
yeah,
lot of people just not able to do that. So I
right.
think it's
It,
awesome.
and as far as like getting my stuff out there, I had the opportunity to retire early, from the MBTA, and um, you know, I wanted to pursue my artwork and stuff, um, and I had taken some drawing classes at that point at the Essex Art Center in Lawrence,
Oh, cool.
and that got me more interested in, okay, maybe I want to get more serious in learning more in the computer art world, in illustration and stuff. And so I ended up going to Essex, the Northern Essex Community College, to take some illustration classes and
That's
stuff.
cool.
And
Yeah.
that got me into more um, structured drawing and things like that. But I was like 50 years old when I started doing that.
I think
And
that's awesome.
yeah, but as far as like getting my artwork out there, my wife says, well, okay, you're doing this. How
What are we
you got
gonna
to
do with
get
all
out
this
there.
art?
Yeah, yeah. How do you want, you got to get it out there.
Right.
And I
Good
was
for her.
petrified of doing that because I'm not a public person at all. You know,
You
it,
are now. You are now,
I am
Jim.
now. But, uh, but what I did was I found out about the organization Creative Haverhill, and I attended a meeting there, and that's where I met a woman named Jenny Arndt and
Oh, yeah.
uh,
Okay.
and Debbie Shirley was in the meeting.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep,
That she's a
Debbie.
good connection. Yes.
Yep, they both told me about the the Haverhill Art Market was just starting
Yes.
up,
Yes.
and so I got a booth at the Haverhill Art Market and started showing my stuff.
See, for someone who's a
And
little shy,
yeah,
you liked
yeah,
it enough. You were willing to
I
get out
did.
of your comfort zone.
I did.
Good,
But
good.
by doing that, I'm meeting other artists,
Right.
and I'm
Network.
seeing
Yeah.
what they're doing and stuff. And what got me out of doing like line work and character type work and stuff was seeing Jenny Arndt was across from me uh, in her booth, and she's doing like abstract art with tissue paper, colored tissue paper, and it
Yes.
clicked. Boom! That just clicked. That moment there opened my mind up to, man, I can do stuff more abstract. I can do stuff with shapes, and stuff, and I loved her work so much. And I told her that you just opened up a whole new world for me. you know I says, you know I may have gotten to show my stuff in public. You guys got me to show my stuff in public. You encouraged me and all that stuff. But seeing what you do at the ease that you had done it with,
Yeah.
the creativity that you showed at such ease,
Yeah.
it just knocked down a wall for me
I
as
I
far
think
as another
that's fantastic.
another way to go with my art.
Good.
Yeah. Uh,
I think that happens all the time. I have a
yeah.
lot of students. I've been teaching for a lot of years, and every time they do something new, I'm like, I want to do that, you know? And
Mm,
so they do, they stretch you artistically and
yeah.
creatively. And
Mm.
so, yeah, absolutely. So is that how you heard about the GHAA through Jenny and
Yes.
Shirley?
Yeah. Debbie
Cool,
told me about GHAA
cool.
and said, okay, you got this booth here, and stuff like that, but this GHA, we have this art fair that we do on the Bradford
And
Common.
you went, yes.
I says, okay, yeah, I'll do that. I'll
You're
do
like,
that
here
too.
we
Okay, now,
go, it's starting.
yeah, now it's starting, and then
Yeah,
it all started from there. Ann gave, I met Ann Jones, and
yes.
she was just so welcoming and stuff. She saw my stuff. I showed her the stick people dance, and she says, "Come on in."
Yeah,
Because
she's an amazing. Ann
yeah,
Jones is the president of the Greater Haverhill Arts
yeah,
Association, and she is like the best captain of the ship ever. I mean, we
yeah.
have a board, and Jim, you're on the board certainly,
I'm on the board now.
and
Yeah,
but she's like steers the ship. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
she's always very encouraging and very helpful. Whatever you want to
yeah,
do, she will find a way to help you do it. She's the best thing that happened to the GHAA in a
yeah,
long time.
yeah. I
Definitely.
do. Well, I just love how the organization has just been so open
Yes.
to me coming on and stuff. Uh, When they first, when after Debbie first told me about GHAA, I went on their website, and I went on all the different members' websites, and I'm seeing all these beautiful landscapes, portraits, oils,
Nice. Yeah. Yep.
all
Beautiful.
this beautiful work. I says, they're never gonna let me in, you know. So I says, well, I've already
You take the
shown
first
my stuff
step.
in public and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Let's do this. So I submitted my stick people dancing. I says, well, if they're gonna let me in on this, on a
My
piece of
stick people.
artwork,
Yeah.
let me show them what I do up till now. And at that point, Stick People Dancing was my masterpiece at that point, you know. So,
Absolutely.
uh, and she said, "Come on in. We we
Yeah,
want all we want all sorts of artists here, you know."
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
she was very open to the digital artwork and stuff, and
Yeah.
as everybody else has been, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah. It's an amazing group. It's more like a family. And like I said, we're kind of
yeah,
know the people on the board and some of the members and this and that. But even at
mm,
the bigger like members meets, the annual members meets and stuff, there isn't anyone there where I can actually go, "Ugh," you know, they're kind of they're all very artists, we someone said we're artsy weird. We have all weird
mm,
personalities, artsy weird.
yeah,
So I just take it as a compliment, like, oh, thank you.
yeah,
But there isn't anyone there that I've met where I really say, it's a nice family. It's a nice
mm,
family of artists, and they're very encouraging and supportive.
yeah.
So it's a good group. It's a good group of
It
people.
really is.
Yeah, awesome,
Yeah,
awesome. So
yeah.
before we set you loose, young man, we want to see some artwork. Will you share?
Okay,
Okay, cool,
sure.
cool, cool, cool.
All right, so let me do the share screen here.
You
Okay.
guys are in for a treat.
All
Ah,
right. Well, this one here is what I was mentioning before, the Stick People Dancing. Uh, it's again, I was in an artist block, and I was and I was on my computer, and I was just started doing like stick people, like to just lay down some lines and stuff,
well,
and
most stick people are rigid. These guys
yes,
are
very
waving
rigid.
and they're moving.
Well, that's how I was feeling when I started drawing them.
I love
All the
it. I
joints
love
were very
it.
sharp. The angles were very sharp, and
Yeah.
the and all that. And then I was, I had on um, my internet radio, you know, and
Yes.
songs from when I was a kid was coming on, you know, and that just started loosening me up, that stuff. And all of a sudden, the line started flowing more, and then and then I looked at it. And I says, well, yeah, they look like they're dancing.
You do. And I
So
mean,
that's
a lot of the lines in that picture are very straight and
yeah,
uniform but they're not. They're very
they're not
fluid and moving, and they're both
exactly.
smiling. I like that.
Yeah, yeah, and
Love
and
it.
this is an example of how I combine like line work of the
Yeah.
people dancing and using basic shapes. You know,
Yeah.
you can you see my pointer?
Yes.
Okay, like these chairs here in digital art, these these chairs are made up of nothing but a bunch of rectangles put
Yes.
together, layered one on top of another with with the uh, similar colors and stuff. And like the arms of the chairs,
Yeah.
you draw one arm, you duplicate it and flip it. Now all of a sudden it's the other arm, you know.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
it's the same with that's how I constructed the chairs and stuff and the rugs and they're just a bunch of rectangles put together.
Yeah, but you can
But
see perspective. I mean,
yeah,
it doesn't look like a flat room. There's perspective there. So how the heck did you
right.
do that?
Some of this perspective I did was um, by how I angled the outer part of the rug here.
Right? Yeah.
I angled the inner corners in more than the outer corners, and that kind of gave me a little bit of depth there. You
Gotcha.
know,
Yeah, that's
that's kind
cool.
of what brought it in for me. And
Okay. What's the
uh,
title of this one?
stick people dancing.
Stick up. Well, of course it is.
I'm not
I love it,
imaginative
Jim.
with my titles are not imaginative at all.
Stick people
it,
dancing.
it, one of the reasons why they're not imaginative is if I try to think up the like a real imaginative title for each piece, I'd never find them on the computer because I have to label the
Well,
files.
you're right. You're
So if
right.
I labeled something, well,
You're
beauty in
absolutely
nature,
right.
well,
I, I'm laughing because that happens to me because I absolutely try to think of these spiritual or ethereal. I look at them and this that, and then you're right, and then I can't find them. Can't find them on the
Yeah.
computer because I can't remember when I named them or which word came first.
Right.
You're absolutely right.
And I need a file system like that because I'm not as disciplined of a worker as I was before I started being an artist. I'm
Good,
not a very disciplined artist at all.
good.
I mean,
I like that's
this
what makes you
file
so
here,
good.
I have so many different versions of this file. It's I don't know how many different versions that I've gone through because I never felt like I was done with it. Like I always had a different idea about it and stuff.
Uh-huh.
So I just make a new file anytime I had a new idea, you know. Um, so there's so many versions of this here that I need a good filing system in order to keep them straight, you know.
Yeah, right. This was like a whole project, it looks like.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so how now you would sell this as a print,
A
right?
print, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So how do do you use archival quality ink? So you're using GHAA print?
I do.
How do you make a print? Are you making them
Most of these
yourself?
here I did with I sent these out to be printed
Okay.
at Image Tech. But lately, what I've been doing with my prints, I got a good pro printer. It doesn't handle huge. It'll handle like 13 by 19. Well,
Oh,
most of my work is 11 by 17 or 11 by
oh.
14 work.
I was gonna
And I,
say 11 by 14 is pretty standard. You get frames.
yeah,
I don't know about 11 by 17. But
right. Yeah,
so what kind of inks are you using? Like,
I use the Canon ink that I use that's supposed to be used for the Pro printer, and I use
okay.
all Canon paper. I don't use any knockoff inks or anything like that. I want to make sure that the pigment stays.
Yeah, I
You
was
know,
just gonna say, how
yeah,
durable are they? And now when you sell them, they're probably under glass or
they're under glass, but I also spray them with the UV coating,
a,
so
a
a clear
UV
UV
coating?
coating. Yeah,
Wow, I don't know what that is. What's a UV coating?
um, it's it's like it almost smells like hairspray. That's probably all it is. I don't
That I
know.
know. Yeah.
For all I know, I'm not. I don't know the chemical part of it, but it's supposed to cut down on the UV rays
It's a spray?
that would lighten up the pigment from the ink.
Oh,
Yeah,
so it's a
because it's
spray?
ink. It's not paint. It's ink.
Right,
So
right. So
um,
that's what I was wondering, like
yeah.
how durable are those prints? Like, are they going to last 10 years, 20 years if someone wanted to hand it down, that type of thing without the
Oh
colors fading? So this UV spray coating helps
yeah,
that. Yes?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's a clear spray coating. I use a gloss coating rather than a matte coating because the
Yeah,
matte coating kind of dulls everything out a bit.
yeah. And
So
for me, you can never have enough bling anyway.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so is that exactly what it's called? UV spray coating?
Yes. Do I have any? I don't have anything handy right here, but yeah, it'll be yeah.
Okay,
Um, I
cool.
think mine's a Krylon product. I think.
Well, Krylon is a good product, yeah.
Yeah.
Krylon. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna look into that. I actually
Yeah.
spray varnish my artwork certainly, but
Yeah.
I do sometimes make prints and um,
Hmm.
I try, I do the archival quality inks and so on and so
Yep.
forth, but
Hmm.
for students who ask the question, I tell them go have a giclée made or have it done professionally if you're going to
Yeah.
sell them and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Tom does a great job at Image Tech. I mean, they do a
Okay,
fantastic job.
all
It's
right,
just that
cool.
I was finding with my artwork that uh, some of the artwork that I was putting out looked great on the computer screen, but when I would print it out
Yeah,
to the size that I wanted,
yep,
um, that I needed to see it in a larger size. And there are
yeah.
plenty of pieces where I've gone back and adjusted things and just resized different things.
That's a
And I
good
found it
point.
very convenient by having a pro printer to do that.
Okay.
You know,
I was going to say, if you have a large print, a large picture, and you
Mhm.
make a smaller one, then it kind of concentrates the pixels. If you have a
Yeah,
small one and enlarge it, sometimes it pixelates. you know, on the
Yeah,
picture.
that's all
So,
in what you you have to think about what the resolution of the original
right,
file
right,
for that
right.
photo was at.
Yeah. Huh.
I usually
Okay.
do mine at 300 dots per inch.
Okay.
That way you can blow it up pretty good. Not huge, but you could probably get a 20 by 26 out of it or something like that
Really?
without
Really?
it pixelating. Yeah,
Oh, cool.
even mine at the I used to send Tom um, when I first sent the image tech um, um, my files and stuff. I'd have the original artwork was at 600 DPI, and he says you really don't need to do that, you know, because 300 is certainly plenty
Really?
for what
Really?
I'm doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, he must have the right equipment because I was doing the same thing. I sending them at 500 and
Oh,
yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. So cool. All right.
Mm.
I like it. I learned something new. Thank you, James.
Oh, no problem. It was all through trial and error, believe me.
Yeah, totally,
Yeah,
totally understand that one.
yeah.
So,
I've had pieces that I've saved
uh,
at at the wrong. I saved the wrong file, and it
I
was
love
the
it.
wrong resolution,
Uh-huh.
and I couldn't get it back.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
Once you overwrite them, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like if
yeah,
I'm doing anything on Corel, it's like version one, version two, version
exactly.
because I have done that enough times when I
Mm,
used to do it. I don't do it so much anymore, but I used to
yeah,
do it. That used to happen to me all the time. I would lose
mm,
my good print. I'd be like, "Eh." Yeah, totally
yeah.
love it.
Well, that's one of the good things about layers too.
Yeah.
If you're trying out different things in layers, like
Yep.
say you would say if I wanted to do something with this as the whole either the whole picture or just I wanted to enhance the stick people or change the colors with the chairs. I could duplicate each one of those layers. Everything on here is on its own layer. You
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
he's on a different layer than he is. You know, I
Cool.
work with them individually. Um, I can duplicate that layer, make my adjustments, and if I make a mistake, I can go back to the original layer, and start all
Yeah.
over again. You know,
Absolutely.
it
Absolutely.
works out great. That's one of the great things about digital art. You know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you
The
learn along the way. But
Yeah,
it's
like you
yeah,
said, through trial and error, but it's a very it can be a very forgiving medium, certainly.
yes, yeah,
Yeah, good, good. So this is a limited palette. You have one, two, three,
very
four,
limited. Yeah.
five, yeah, five colors in there. That's awesome.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. Cool.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, you're
Hey.
welcome.
Well, let's see. Let's see. What do I got next here? Okay. I think this one here is again, it was a practice in shapes. Now I was going to use all triangles and circles. The circles can be ovals, the triangles could be curved, they could have a curved side, but all the triangles had to be triangles,
I love
and
it.
and everything had to be circles or arcs or ovals, So it was an
Yes,
exercise in doing that.
that is so cool. So does this one
Yeah.
have a name? This one called
Um,
Triangles and Circles?
I'm trying to think of the name of this one.
Yeah, they look like
Fun with
birds.
shapes. Fun with
Fun with
shapes.
shapes. Oh,
Yep.
cool. Fun with
Yep.
shapes.
Fun with shapes.
And this one has a texture to it,
This
at
has a
least.
texture to it. It
Yeah,
has a bunch of different textures to it.
I was
Yeah.
just going to say the
Yeah.
background is smooth.
Yeah.
So now, is this a computer filter type thing?
It
These
is. It's a computer
textures?
filter. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
But with that filter, you can adjust how coarse that texture
Right.
is, how
Yeah,
fine it is,
yeah, yeah.
the shading of it,
Uh-huh.
how it appears on the page,
I was
Yeah.
going to say, I'm looking at the subtle shading on the eyeballs, especially of the big bird.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
like, darker around the edges, lighter in the middle. So again, we
Yeah.
get that 3D effect where
Right.
it's
It's working
showing
with
some depth.
gradients. Yeah. Yeah.
Radiance. That's the
Now,
word. That's the word. The man knows his stuff. I like it.
yeah.
Radiance.
Now the program I used for this was it started off with Adobe Illustrator, And then when I switched over to Affinity, I'm trying to remember the name of the the Affinity. Affinity Designer is
Oh,
the name of the program, and it's a vector program. It's not a pixel program like Photoshop or Affinity Photo is.
so
Uh,
what's uh, define vector for
okay,
people.
okay. Well, a vector is you're on your computer and you draw a line. You click on one point. Say if you're working with a mouse, you click on one point, and then you go to another part of the page and you click on that other page. A line is going to be drawn. Okay. Um,
From
and
one
it's a
page to the other?
mathematical, yeah, one click to the other is going to be a straight line, or you can curve it by using um, uh, the directional tool in the pen tool um, uh, in the program.
Okay.
Um, but that line is going to be that. It doesn't matter how big you make that piece. That could be on the side of a truck. It's still going to be that line, and it's not going to pixelate like you had the problem with pixelation. That's because in a pixel program, you're doing a certain amount of dots per inch.
Right.
And as you blow that piece up,
You're diluting the
that piece
color
still thinks
somehow.
that original little thing was an inch. Well, you blew that up. And now this is what this now is what the Photoshop or Corel thinks is your inch. It's
Yeah,
bit this
right.
much. So you could have 300 dots per inch, but now you just gave it a big inch. Now there's still 300 dots in what Corel
Right.
thinks is that inch.
Right.
You see,
I do. Yeah.
so so that's going to make it look all pixelated and light and stuff like that.
Okay.
Whereas in a vector, if I draw, like this triangle here, this purple beak here,
Uh-huh.
doesn't matter how big I make that, it's still going to be that beak, and it's going to be purple, and it's going to look like that. The
It-
texture is going to look bigger,
Okay.
but it's not going to blur out. I
Okay.
mean,
Oh, it's going to keep its crispness.
it's gonna keep its crispness,
Crisp.
its crispness. Yeah, yeah. That's
I
about the only way I
I
know how to
I said
explain
the
it.
same thing. It's crispness, and then I said no, crispness, and then you did exactly the same thing. I love it.
I need a drink.
After that, you need a stronger
But
drink than
yeah,
water. That's it.
but that's
Okay,
about
so
as
that's
far as
going
I
to
know.
maintain, it's going to maintain its color and its shape no matter how
Yep.
much you blow it up. Okay,
Yeah.
so a
Yeah.
vector is different than pixels.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now vector has its limitations, um, like this gradient here. It
Yeah.
looks nice here,
Yep.
because if it's in this uh, it's it's in this size and all that stuff. But if I was to do this in a pixel program like a Photoshop, that would be an even finer
Uh,
gradient.
okay.
Because again, this is a shape and you're filling it with colors,
Colors.
you know,
Uh-huh.
and uh, I'm not exactly sure exactly how to explain it, but a pixel does better on fine work than um, a vector program would. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's been my experience.
And a
Um,
vector does better on
but a
the
vector
bigger.
does, but a vector is good because it's easy to draw out the shapes.
Okay.
Um, if I'm looking at more solid type colored work and stuff, I'd like to start with the vector because you can always turn a vector
Into
into a pixel.
well,
It's called rasterization,
yeah,
and
those
that way it
raster
translates
layers.
over to another program that you can use.
Okay.
You know,
All right. I did not know that's what
yeah,
raster did. Okay, that's cool.
mm,
So it
yeah.
converts it from one to the other.
Yes, yeah, it turns this into pixels. So that beak is no longer a triangle. It's
Gotcha.
just a bunch of pixels put together.
Pixels. Okay,
Yeah.
that is so
Yeah.
cool. All right, like it.
Okay. So this one here is again just I I was going to limit myself to shapes and and I wanted to play with gradients of color,
I was
and
gonna
blending
say,
colors.
these are almost translucent. These are
Yes,
see-through.
yeah.
I love it. That's
I, I
great.
want I wanted to make the trees look like they were rustling, even though they're in because I wanted to show like the wind blowing and the
They
leaves
do look
blowing and
like
stuff.
that. They do.
Thanks. And how am I going to make the triangles look like like they're moving?
Movement.
So I so I looked into how to work with different opacities and different gradients and stuff, and how I was gonna um, put one. This started off as a single triangle. All those trees is one triangle that I just duplicated one after another and filled each different one with a different color, and
Cool.
each different one has a different opacity.
All right, so I
And
have another question. All right,
yeah,
so these triangles which make up the tree, there's
yeah,
some smaller areas inside, like a
mhm,
dark brown one. So is that
yes,
manipulated individually or is that part of a gradient
yes,
procedure?
yep. Most of the most of the difference of shading and stuff in the overlapping of
Yeah.
um, one translucency to another of the triangles is working with different blend modes. And in this was I think this was the Affinity Designer I did it on.
Cool.
And I could take that, say if my base triangle was the orange triangle, and I duplicate that and I put another triangle on top of it. And I want to give it another color. Well, I just assign it that other color and I work with the opacity. How
Uh-huh.
much can I see through this?
Oh, right, right. I remember that. Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a
And
while, but yeah, you can set it.
but then
Sure.
there are different blend modes that you can
Yeah.
use just for that new layer.
Okay.
And that and it and it manipulates how the top layer interacts with the bottom layer.
Cool.
I can use say the green triangle on top of it. Well, I can make it through the blend mode, have the green bleed more into the orange. Um, and this is a very, all the technical terms I really don't know and stuff like that, but what I do it all by trial and error. You know, I pick a blend mode like a darken or uh, I'm trying to think of other blend modes that I'm not coming up with the names, but
Well, like
um,
highlighting and
yeah, it highlights
shading.
how is this color going to interact with the color below
Yeah.
it? Is it going to make it is when one's right on top of another? Can I make where they are on top of each other? Can I make that an average of the two colors? Like
Yeah.
green and orange will make what more of a brownish or something.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um,
Absolutely.
and that's averaging.
Yeah.
And then there's you can
Yeah.
soften the colors. It's all makes it either more opaque or less opaque or
This
less
it sounds
interactive
like
with
an awful lot of
the
work.
colors.
How long does it take you to how long did it take you to do this piece? Did you do it all in one sitting? Was it done in a
No,
number of
oh
sittings?
no. This
No,
this
no, no,
here,
no.
it looks like a bunch of different shapes.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of shapes, but this took me a few days easily to do, easily, because it's a
So
because I can't go into a piece and say, okay, I want this to look a certain way, so I'm going to click on this layer and I'm going to use this blend mode. That's not the way it
doesn't
works for me.
work.
I got to
Yeah.
try a whole bunch of different
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that's not the way it works for me. I don't know the program. I'm not that expertise in the expert at the program as somebody who could do that. You know,
Well,
I
I
know
haven't.
exactly what it's going to look like if I do this. I
The
don't
more
know that
you
yet.
the more you do this, I'm sure that will happen sooner than you think if it
Yes,
hasn't
yeah.
already. Yeah.
So yeah, so all my experimenting is it takes me days to finish. Sometimes it'll take me weeks to finish a piece.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm thinking days and weeks is good.
yeah, yeah.
Nice. Nice.
And again, this is another one that was I decided to do a beach scene
Is that a little sailboat way off in the
That's a little
distance?
sailboat.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Talk about
And
perspective. Zoom.
yeah, and and it's just using basic shapes again. It was using arches in a triangle, you
Yeah,
know,
I was gonna
and I
say
just,
they look like elongated triangles.
yeah, yeah. And I just laid one on top of another, and again, worked with the different blend modes and all that, and different gradients also on this one here,
So
and,
what is this one
all this,
called? This one called going sailing?
I think it's just called Seashore or something like
Seashore.
that.
I love it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love it.
On the shore, I think this one's called, I
On
think.
the
Yeah.
shore. Nice.
Uh, At
Yeah.
the shore, at the shore. Yeah. But
Very
a lot of the stuff is I take the advice from other artists and stuff, just like someone would, doing regular painting and stuff. You're making the foreground uh, um, lighter than darker to give you that perspective type of stuff.
yeah.
I listen at all the demos,
I,
and I
I'm
and I apply
yeah,
them to my artwork.
absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely. Smart man.
so it's a lot of the same principles and stuff.
Sure. Well, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. You're using the computer, you're using software, so on and so forth, but you still have to have kind of a basic knowledge
Oh
about
yeah,
art in general in order to actually create something like this. You're just using a different tool. Instead of a
exactly.
brush, you're
Yeah,
using a computer.
right,
Huh,
right.
cool.
And how lightly you would say in watercolors,
Yeah.
how much you would load how much
How much water are you putting in there? How
how
much
much water
paint?
you're going to use, all that stuff. That's all adjustments I can make in the program.
Right, right.
Dealing with brushes and stuff, I can customize the brushes to how many bristles I want on the brush, how thick I
Really,
want the brush, how
really.
long I want the bristles,
I
how
love
long I
it.
want the stroke, tapering of the stroke and all that.
Just a
That's all
different medium.
adjustable.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool. An
yeah,
adjustable medium.
yeah, yeah. But
Cool.
again, it's all trial and error and time consuming.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure. So
yeah,
you gotta love it in order to put that much time into it. I have a
yeah.
sister who knits and she'll knit baby sweaters and shoes and stuff. And I'll say to her, how can you do that? That would drive me crazy. And she'd say, well, how
Mm,
can you sit for 5 hours and paint a picture? So it's all relative. If you gotta love it in order
right.
to put that much time and effort into it for sure.
I think what it is for me with that is why I'm willing to do the time. But there are days I won't feel like doing all that time,
Sure,
but there are
sure.
other days where I'm just amazed at what I can do with the technology. Like I
Yeah,
said, I'm a tech head,
I
and
know. I
always
love it.
have been. And this is why it was just a perfect marriage
Perfect
of my
blend.
two
Yeah,
interests.
yep, yep.
So I'm always finding something new uh, to do with it.
Speaking of marriage, does Moira do anything like this? Does she do painting? Does she do photography? Does she have her
She has
hand
a
in it?
fantastic eye for photography, and I've
Ah,
been trying to. I'd love to get her to do more photography.
that's
She's
kind of where I
interested
was
in it.
going. Let's get her going here. Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Well, at some point she'll,
She'll
because
make up
she
her own
she
mind.
certainly knows how to do a composition
Y-
in a piece of photography.
Yeah,
Just using her phone. You
I
know.
bet you the two of you would, be able to really discuss that and work together
Yeah.
well to
Mm,
do stuff like that. That would
yeah.
be awesome, actually.
Yeah.
Cool. Ah, I love
Yeah.
that.
This was one of my early works of working with shadowing.
And this one looks like crepe paper. No,
Yeah, yeah,
construction paper. Looks like construction paper.
exactly. This is the first one that I did after I saw Jenny Arndt working with her tissue paper
Ah, okay, cool, cool.
and
She
her
did
color scheme,
inspire
how
you.
she worked her colors and stuff like that,
Yeah,
and everything. And then I said, well, what do I do with that? How can I apply that to what I like to do? And again, the basic shapes again.
yeah.
And this here is just basically 3 or 4 basic shapes that I've molded into something. Every
Uh-huh.
single one of these petals started from a single petal that I just duplicated and kind of nudged along to change its shape just a little bit. It's all
Cool.
the Every petal here is came from one petal. one drawing that I duplicated and nudged and
Nice.
recolored, you know. Uh,
Nudged. Nudged.
yeah,
Is that an artistic term? I
yeah,
nudged that
that's an
color.
artistic term. Yeah,
I like it. I make up
yeah,
terms
that's
all the
part of the
time.
sculpting. Yeah, I should say sculpting. It sounds
No,
more.
I like nudged, actually got the point across and the picture
Yeah,
very good. So nudged, keep nudged.
yeah,
I like it.
yeah. Nudging is great. I'm trying to think of what it's called, technically what it's called in the programs, but
Manipulation. I can see the shadows on the wall. And I
mhm.
mean, that looks like tile behind it.
Yeah, it's tile. Yeah, yeah. I turned the basic squares into tiles. Yeah, but yeah, the shadowing, it's a little strong, but yeah, it was my original
I
work,
like it.
and
I like it. I mean, that
yeah,
grout actually looks like grout.
yeah.
It's so
Thanks.
cool. So that's just
Yeah.
like, and this is your earlier piece. This is more realistic almost than some of
Yes.
your newer
Yeah.
stuff, actually.
Right. Right. And
Liking
let's
it.
see. And this here was another one that I did after seeing um, Jenny's pieces. This just opened up so much for me when I saw that piece that she did, and I started applying it to a landscape. And I was just thinking about when I was in the Air Force, I was stationed out in California. We had all these, I won't call them mountains because they're not mountains, but these tall, arid hills, and it just got me thinking about the topography, that I could see from my base. And there were all these arid type of hills, and I added water to it. But I decided to make it a little more abstract than that,
Uh-huh.
and just again seeing the way Jenny did um, her tissue paper art there gave me the idea of, yeah, you could do this in layers and you can make it.
She inspired you. Now,
She inspired me.
how much does your mood play in the color work? Because I'm looking at the colors,
Yeah,
and some of the colors are very kind of mellow, others
yeah,
are kind of bright and exciting. So, how much does your mood at the time, because you're letting these evolve into what they need
mhm,
to be? So,
yeah,
like in one picture, you have bright, vivid colors. Another one, you
yeah,
have kind of toned down, mellow colors. So is
yeah,
that dependent on your mood while you're doing the work?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cool.
There's sometimes when I'm starting a piece, it's just to start something, just put something
Yeah.
down. I'm not feeling it that day. I mean, so
Okay.
just put something down. And that'll usually start something a little darker. But it depends on how it evolves. If I'm liking what I'm seeing, it's taking me somewhere to where I'm kind of leaving what may be going on that day behind. Things will start getting a little lighter.
Yeah.
I'll start working with the colors a little bit more, and get a little
Uh-huh.
looser with strokes on my shapes or something like that. But yeah,
Cool.
I think it depends on what I'm feeling at the beginning of the day.
Yeah,
If I'm
that's
feeling good that
and
day, it'll start
the
off
more
right.
I'm looking at your stuff, I'm like, okay, this day he was feeling kind of mellow. That day he was feeling very sharp and blah blah blah. It's almost like
Yeah,
we're getting a glimpse
yeah.
into what's inside your head there, or at least some of the feelings anyway.
Well, this piece here, since it was a recollection of our representation of
Yeah, yeah.
abstract representation of where I was at, we'd have perfectly clear days. We'd have days where we were just socked in with smog. And that's where
Okay.
a lot of the cloudiness of this may come into.
So the color choices
Yeah,
reflect your memory of that
yeah,
place. Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah,
Very cool.
yeah.
Very cool.
Hmm. And this here, you talk about color.
Yeah, I didn't say this is a party. These flowers are partying. Are they flowers? They look like flowers.
They are flowers, yeah.
Okay, these
And
flowers
this,
are definitely partying.
yeah. And this here I did almost totally on my iPad,
Really?
using a program called Procreate. And I did this on not my iPad Pro, but my first iPad that I could use a pencil with, the Apple Pencil with. It was a small one,
Ah,
and I just this was inspired by like impressionist type paintings I saw when we were in well when we were in Paris, but another time when we were in London also seeing some impressionist painting at the National Gallery, and I just started so I started drawing flower shapes, you know, and uh, and then they were feeling too stiff for me, I liked the colors that I was using, but they were just too stiff on me, and that's where all the nudging comes out. It comes with.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Yes,
And it just
those are
started
good.
melting. They all started melting together,
Yep,
in a bunch and
yep.
stuff. And
They're definitely nudged and mushed in.
yes.
They're just
Yeah.
partying. They're just
Yep.
partying. They had a little too much to drink in certain areas. They're
Yeah.
showing.
Yeah. The process um, technically is called liquefying. Is nudging.
That
It's
works.
called
That works for
liquefying.
that.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Did that one have a title?
It does, but I don't remember.
Okay.
uh, I think it's probably something like abstract floral
That
is what it's called.
perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. This one's the title is Woman.
Very
'Cause
good. Very good, Jim. Woman.
I did, there was,
Yes, you
yeah,
can.
I was thinking about, when I was drawing this, I was thinking about like Southwestern art and stuff, but still wanted to be a little more abstract. And I didn't, and I wanted there to be, um, line work with the face and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
for some
Did you
reason, I
draw
wanted
her?
to.
You drew
I
her
drew
on
her.
your.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Okay. Cool.
out of imagination. I just
Yeah.
drew a face and stuff, and um, tried to bit a bunch of different noses and lips and eyes and stuff like that. And my coloring was starting to bring me into a little more somber type of mood.
Yes.
And I said,
Yes.
well, and I couldn't figure out how I wanted to do like hair and stuff like that. And then I just figured, you know what? I don't want to do
Just
hair.
leave it
And I
out.
don't want to do a perfect face. I don't want to do it. I want something that just feels like a representation of something of a little some. I still see it and look at it as being somber a little bit, but I like the abstractness of it. You know,
Yeah,
uh,
I do too. She's
the, the line
so
work of the face isn't a solid line.
yeah,
The
right.
outer part of the face is not solid and stuff. And her coloring is all different shades of orange and pale and stuff. Um,
Yeah, you can really
and
see
granule.
it.
It's a little granular and stuff.
Yep.
And
The more I look at it, the more different colors I see.
yeah, yeah, it's definitely
Ah,
one of those things where I was just looking at it and looking at it and looking at it. What do I want this to be?
right.
And this, I felt like it was finished with this. And you know,
Cool.
there's some things I just feel like that.
They're done.
I'm
You
done
can
with it. I
tell when
don't
they're
need to
done.
put.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't need to put a hairline in there. I don't
right,
need to put
right.
a full ear and stuff. I just want to make it a little. I like this,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
just said I'm done.
yeah. Good.
It evokes what I want it to evoke. It's like a little bit of a somber thing, but
Somber.
I like the feeling I get with this one.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. The fact that her eyes are closed and stuff, it's almost like she's remembering something.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily pleasant because, the corners of her
Right.
mouth and yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. There's a softness to it, but there's also a rigidity to it. There's also a firmness to it. The darkened brows and
Yeah.
stuff, the strong brow line and
Yep.
stuff. And there's just a bunch of. I think there's a lot to this.
Yeah, there
And
really is. I mean, at
it's hard to
first
put into
glance,
words, but it just,
yeah, at
you
first
know,
glance, it looks like a simple drawing, but it's really not. The more I look at it, the more I see, and
yeah,
absolutely, there's a feeling there.
mm,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Cool. Very cool.
So
Woman. Woman.
Woman. Yeah.
Woman.
Okay, now this is an example
Wow.
of how something starts as a simple shape.
Uh-huh.
If you look at this one here and you look at like where my cursor is here, it follows just like a small like a elongated S,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
And so I just duplicated that S shape and transformed it, flipped it over and then duplicated it again and flip it vertically and stuff like that and worked with the gradient on this.
There's something about that that is very relaxing to me. Like I think I like to
Yeah.
meditate. I think I could
Hmm.
look at that and meditate. Very
Yeah.
relaxing. There's a flow to it. There's a
Yeah.
subtle coloring. That very nice. I like this.
Oh, thanks. Yeah,
Real-
it's very translucent
Yeah.
layering. Like you
Yeah.
want to look beyond one thing into the next. And
Absolutely.
yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
That's awesome. Cool.
So I worked with this one and I just, I like that one there, but I started working with a little bit more. I says, well, let's get the nudge tool out.
Get the nudge
And
tool
so
out.
yeah, so I started moving what these curved lines and stuff around, and that turned into this.
No way. That is
Yep.
totally cool.
The beginning of this was the beginning of
What
this one was that.
is that? Oh my
Because
word.
if you notice here, you'll notice it's the curvature is almost like the line, the bottom line of the cheek and stuff,
Yes.
going into
Yes.
the chin and stuff.
Ah,
And that's what this is.
wow.
Here's
Wow.
that swervy line.
Yes. Oh my
And
gosh.
it's one thing that reminded me of, okay, well, that looks like the side of, like the outline of of the
Curve of the
face, you
face.
know.
Wow.
And
That's
then
amazing.
I drew an oval, and then I says, okay, that's an eye, you
Eye. I
know.
see an eye.
And I took another one of the swerves, okay, and I made the swerve smaller, and I says, oh, that looks like a nose line to me,
Nose.
you know. And
Wow.
and this is the one that I told you about that when we went to Paris. I found the 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 painting that had all the cracked paint in it.
Yes.
This is the one that I
Okay.
was telling you. It wasn't done until I put the crackling to it.
Ah, I can see that. I can see
This
that.
looked total. This was totally smooth before,
Smooth.
and I liked it, but it wasn't done.
And now it is.
And now it is. Yeah,
That's
and it
that's
just
amazing. Amazing.
and it just molded itself into it. You know,
Yeah.
uh, I started doing some of the coloring and through the different layers, the skin tone was turning darker, more yellowish and stuff. And that's when I started thinking, you know what, this looks like the old, like Renaissance type
Yeah.
paintings. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, it
So
does.
I started going more with that color scheme and stuff,
Wow.
and then
Have you
just kept
exhibited
working
all
it.
the, do you exhibited all these pieces? Why don't I remember that one?
Yeah, yeah.
Ah,
This is this is this up? No, this isn't up right now.
I,
I've sold one of these though.
I
Um,
bet.
yeah, a friend of mine from Memphis. She saw it when I showed it to her here.
Nice.
She was up for a visit and she loved it.
When you sell
And
them, do you sell just the prints or do you sell them framed? How do you sell them?
I'll I'll sell the usually when I sell them it's just the print
Just the
because
print.
the framing is
It's a kind of a personal thing with a lot of people too.
yeah, it's kind of a
That's,
personal thing. And it's something that you'd have to have a stock of, you know what I
well,
mean?
yeah,
Carry a
true.
stock of,
Yep,
and they're
yep,
pretty expensive to stock, you
true.
know. And
Absolutely.
people like different color mattings and this
Right,
and that.
right.
So I'd rather just sell it
Yeah, works
as a
out
print.
well all the way around. Sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Gorgeous.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Nice.
And let's see what else. This one here is one of those pieces that I took a picture of a tree here
Uh-huh.
in the one day and took a picture of a tree somewhere else another day and try to think of a scene. I went out um, I think it was about 2 years back now, 2 or 3 years back now, and it was the first snow of the year, and um, I'm seeing a bunch of different places, and just said, boy, these trees would look great in another scene that I think of, So I took some pictures of an open field and stuff, and just decided to do this composition. And this is all done on my iPad.
I have to
And
ask the question. These trees are very prickly. They're very
yeah,
sharp at the edges. Is that the way they
yeah.
were in real life, or did you do that to them?
No, like the bend of the trees and all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
The original trees weren't as drastic as
Ah,
these.
okay.
Um, I try to get more of a wind look to
Got
this,
it.
and
Got it.
yeah,
Cool.
and everything is an individual brush stroke. Um, the shading is all done
Huh.
by individual brush strokes and stuff, rather than using like a shading from the program itself. I
Uh-huh.
just did it by different shades of gray, black,
Yes.
white, very
Okay, so
lightish blue.
as I'm looking at this, the wind is blowing to the left. Yeah?
Yeah,
And the bird
yeah,
is flying to the right, right?
yeah, yeah.
That that is like cool. All right. I like it.
That's why he doesn't get anywhere. He
He's
stays right
not
there.
getting anywhere. He's just staying right there. Ah,
You got the
cool.
other little one. You got this little one here just saying, "I'm not flying at all."
Oh, yeah. He's not even blowing in the wind.
Yeah, but that the mountain and the faded woodlands in the back, that's
Uh-huh.
all from imagination. It's
Cool.
all thought up. Yeah,
Nice. Nice.
yeah.
Very cool.
Thanks. And this one here, I haven't sold this one here, but this was in our the State House exhibit
Oh, right,
that
right,
we
right.
had a couple of years ago.
Right, right.
And again, it was all thought up and stuff. And this was an exercise in brushwork and stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, doing the brushwork for the grass and all that. And, yeah, and another good thing about digital art is if you're working on a piece that's you think is going absolutely nowhere, but you enjoy certain aspects of it,
Uh-huh.
certain layers of it,
You could
you can
say,
use that
yeah,
layer
yeah,
in
yeah,
another piece.
absolutely.
This lighthouse came from another piece altogether that was going absolutely nowhere. And the only thing
Yeah,
I liked
you
about
could
that
have a
piece was
whole
the lighthouse.
library of pieces. This is the
Yes, yeah,
land, this is a lighthouse, this is a bird. Cool.
exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
And
awesome, actually.
yeah, yeah. So there
Cool.
are things that I do recycle
Yeah,
from one
good,
piece to another.
good, good.
And that's why I like just laying something down.
Yes.
I could always use it for something else. If I don't like the outcome of that one piece, I feel like it's going nowhere,
Uh-huh.
there's
Just,
something I could always use from it,
yep, save
you
it for
know?
something else. I love the color work in the foreground here.
Oh,
It's
thanks.
neat.
Yeah.
Neat, neat, neat.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah,
Cool beans.
I think that's the last one.
I was gonna say, I don't see any more arrows. What's up with
No.
that? This was absolutely amazing,
Oh,
amazing.
thank you.
Tell people where now. Do you have some work at the Rhythm Cafe in Merrimack and at G's Restaurant? Also, you
The
show them
the
at all
Rhythm
the G
Cafe, well, the Rhythm Cafe was an old exhibit that I
an
had.
old exhibit.
That's no
Okay,
longer up.
okay,
My pieces are up at G's restaurant
and
downtown Haverhill.
Haverhill. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
and they can
and
find them on your website.
yeah, yeah. My website is JF McArtsy.
McCarthy,
Um, yeah, Artsy, not McCarthy. It's McCarthy.
McCarthy.
Uh, yeah, because anything that I could think of
And
for a
here you
website
said you
title,
weren't inventive with your names. I love it.
well, everything with McCarthy in it was already taken up as a domain name. So
Or else it would have been, right?
there's a
I
lot of
love it.
JF
I love it.
McCarthy's out there.
Nazi at okay, so
At
.com, .org,
.com. Yeah, yeah,
.com. All right.
yeah.
So www James McCarthy at
JF McArtsy.
jfmccarthy
Yeah,
.com. And of course, we will put this up on the GHAA
Sure.
Facebook page. Do you have a Facebook presence and all that happy stuff, or are you just
I do. Um, my Facebook presence, that's something I really have to work on, is my social media. I do
Yeah,
have, I have a
that's a tough.
Facebook page for my artwork type stuff, but it's not as current as
Okay. So,
as
all
I'd like
right.
to have
So
it.
we'll make it really easy for people. What's the best way to get in touch with you if they have questions or they want to inquire about a piece? What's the
They
best
can go
way?
on my website, and then there's a contact
Okay.
thing there
Contact
that'll
button. All
send
right.
me an email. They can email me at jfmccarthy@gmail.com.
Mail.com. All
Yeah.
right. Thank you. Thank you so
Hey.
very much. This was enlightening as it was beautiful. I learned a
Oh,
lot.
thank you.
Yeah, you are very welcome. Thank you, my
Hey.
darling. And GHA thanks you for all the work that you do. Because like
Oh
you
man.
said, you're also on the board and you're
Yeah. You know, and
working at
that's
this.
another thing. A lot of the stuff that I'd learned was from other artists, was from hanging their paintings.
Absolutely.
I'd learned
Absolutely.
more from that than almost anything else, because
I
I can talk
totally
with other
relate.
artists as we're hanging the
Yep.
paintings
Yep.
and seeing what works with that. Why doesn't that work with that?
Yeah, as you're
Yeah.
hanging, you're also trying to hang pictures that look good or relate to each other, and so that's an art
Mhm.
in itself.
Yeah.
So there,
Yeah. As I'm
that's
finding. Yeah.
yeah, perfect, perfect. Well, we want
Hey.
to thank you. We want to thank the
Thank you.
GHAA, and it's a member-driven art association. So,
Right.
you don't have to be an artist to be a member. You can just be an art appreciator. We
Yep.
have sponsorships from
Hmm.
folks who want to encourage. We also have a scholarship. We're in our 50th year. We're celebrating 50 years of Greater Haverhill Arts Association. The founder, Bob Gilboski, founded it 50 years ago. So we are
Hmm.
celebrating. Get on our website, see the events. Always welcome donations and sponsors and all that good stuff.
Hmm.
Okay. Anything else,
Yeah.
James?
Well, if you want to come to the different demos and stuff, everybody more than welcome and stuff. If you want to volunteer to help hang
Yeah,
uh,
that's it.
at
That's
the
it.
exhibits, that would
He's
be
a
great
true
too.
leader. He's a true leader.
It,
If you can lend a hand, let us know. We want to
it's
know.
amazing what you'll learn from doing it. I learned a whole lot
Absolutely.
from doing it.
Plus,
Yeah.
just the camaraderie of being with
Oh yeah.
artists and other artists and all that, just a good experience. And as
Yeah.
things are starting to open up a little bit more, we can do a little bit more in person. But we have a lot of virtual stuff like what we're doing now, Meet the Artists.
Hmm.
We've been doing virtual demos. So, even through the pandemic, GHAA has been one of the most active associations through the whole ordeal.
Yeah.
So, again, we have an awesome board, which Debbie Shirley, you mentioned her earlier, she sits
Hmm.
on the board for the GHA as well. Okay, so we got
Yeah.
a lot of cool people, a lot of cool stuff going on. Join us, okay? GHAA.art to know more about us and sponsorship and events. Okay?
Yay.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so much,
much.
Joni.
You are so welcome. This was awesome, awesome. And I
Okay.
will talk to you later.
All right. Take care.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye.